I was so hyped to learn something new about the Luffy and Cracker fight. But once again, we got to switch back over to the Vinsmokes. But I'm not too disappointed this chapter because we did learn a lot of new info. And I'm glad we got to see more of the Vinsmokes and the Suns, Ichiji and Niji, and their powers. So at the start of the chapter, we see the Vinsmokes eating in a dining hall. And at first, I didn't really think much of it, but when looking closer at it, it looks very similar to a sort of Nazi Germany, like rally space. It's pretty eerily similar, and I'm very sure Oda took inspiration from that to sort of represent the Germa's connection to Nazi Germany. It seems pretty obvious at this point. We get to hear the effects of Luffy defeating Doflamingo and the type of effects it's had on the Vinsmokes and their business. Niji starts complaining about his food like a typical spoiled royal, and then Sanji gets really upset and decides that he is going to force Niji to try and eat it, and then of course Niji tries to throw the plate at the cook, Cosette, which is basically stepping all over Sanji's morals. They're basically spitting all over what Sanji believes in. And this gets him really upset, and I guess it's going to eventually build up to Sanji fighting them, hopefully he at least takes out like Niji or even Ichiji, but Ichiji seems to like not really care that much about anything. So I think it would be a lot more satisfying for Sanji to take out either Judge or Niji or get some kind of fight. That would be really interesting. Now, one thing a few people pointed out was that when Niji kicked Sanji, or almost kicked him, it released a huge burst of air. And this could mean he has some kind of wind power despite having the electric theme, but it could have always just been him kicking the air so hard that it released a burst of air. Basically, Sanji just continues to rant about how the Vinsmokes are a bunch of brats and how they're stepping all over his morals. And then we see Judge basically blackmail him with Zeph, and then we get a nice little flashback. A lot of fill in the blanks for stuff we haven't seen in Sanji's past with Zeph. It's really nice to see, and we even get to see at an early age Sanji was still obsessed with women. This wasn't something he just developed growing up, and I guess he's just trying to pile on the emotion so that we can see why exactly Sanji is being so resistant to fighting them. And then this chapter took a really dark turn because we saw Cosette, the cook, lying on the ground covered in blood, completely beat up, and basically to the point where she needed hospitalization really bad. And I guess it's just trying to show us still how messed up the Vinsmokes are. Like, it just goes beyond being spoiled royals. They are legitimately messed up psychopaths. And you really gotta feel bad for Sanji because growing up with this type of like filth, you know, just horrible, horrible people. And it completely goes against his morals completely, which is, I imagine, why he completely was just like, don't even associate with me. I'm not related to you. I don't even want anything to do with you. And at first it was kind of confusing because we're like, okay, he completely cut off, you know, bonds with them. What could they have done that was so bad? But just this type of stuff really justifies it, and hopefully we get to see more maybe of the Vinsmokes and maybe even more build up to see how bad they truly are. Because at this point, what could really top this? The only thing I can imagine is maybe if we get to see Sanji's mom and maybe she disobeyed them and they killed her. That would definitely drive him to the point where he would just run away and completely cut off all bonds with them. Because we don't see Sanji's mom right now, and if she was killed in the past, that would make perfect sense. Now, the end of the chapter is like really mind-blowing, but really kind of confusing because I'm not sure what's going on here exactly. I can kind of get a clue, but basically Sanji goes to go look for Niji inside this little vault, and then we see all these different capsules and tubes holding all these different soldiers, which look to be like action figures almost. And I get that much, but why was he looking for Niji in there? Was Niji like working on these guys? I'm guessing they are like bioengineered humans. So they're probably something along the lines of clones. But one thing I did find kind of weird is that Niji is apparently in here and he could be within one of the capsules, maybe like the center capsule. And maybe it's just me, but the last soldier in the last panel looked a little bit like Virgo. I wonder if Virgo ties into this at all. I doubt he does, but it does look pretty similar. But on a high note, we are finally reaching the climax of the Whole Cake Island because next chapter we may end up seeing Sanji meet up with Pudding and Big Mom if we don't see more of the Vinsmokes alone. And then Luffy will of course sweep in and probably save Sanji, and then we will see the big fight. And then we could finally go over to Wano Kuni and get the Kaido arc. I doubt we're going to stay on Big Mom's island for too long. I know a lot of people don't really enjoy the Big Mom arc that much, but I've been personally enjoying it quite a bit. I love the whole design of the Charlotte family, all the different characteristics they have, you know, Cracker and all that, and the Vinsmokes, we get to see a lot of them. It's been very fun for me, so I hope that people can eventually look back at this arc as a pretty fun arc in general. But as usual, tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of the arc? What do you think of this chapter? What do you think those clones or those things in those capsules are? But other than that, I will see you all next time.